Hello everyone, you're watching sqadia.com and today our lecture topic is nervous system and we are on the section 2 of this lecture, that is we'll be discussing the neurons and the nerve cells in this section. So we will be discussing the classification of neuron, we'll be discussing what is neuron, what is a resting membrane potential in a neuron, what is an action potential in a neuron, and how it actually this resting membrane potentially becomes an action potential when the impulse arrives, and what are the molecular mechanism by which this happens. So what is a neuron? A neuron is a name given to the nerve cells and its processes. Neurons are excitable cells that are specialized for reception of stimuli and conduction of nerve impulses. They vary considerably in size and shape, but each possess a cell body from whose surface project one or more processes called neurites. Those neurites responsible for receiving information and conducting it towards the cell body are called dendrites. The single long tubular neurite that conducts impulses away from the cell body is called an axon. Dendrites and axons are more often referred as nerve fibers. Now on the right side you can appreciate this is an example of a typical neuron. This is a cell body over here, it containing different organelles, like the nucleus is very much dominant, there will be presence of plasma membrane around it, and these are the multiple neurites or projections which are coming out of this cell body. Now these are the projections of which are receiving the stimuli. Afferent neurons are actually coming into the cell. Now all this is integrated, and this is actually the information exits from a single neuron, this nerve fiber which is called an axon, which actually once it reaches its effector organ, it divides into multiple areas so that it can cover all the area where it is supplying. And but efferent fibers actually are from the axon. Neurons can be classified based on their size and based on their morphologies. Different sizes we can be broadly classified into Golgi type 1 and Golgi type 2 neurons. While based on their morphology, they could be divided into three different types. They could be unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar neurons. Now, what is a unipolar and why it is called a unipolar? What is a bipolar and why is this called a bipolar? And what is a multipolar neuron? This can be explained in this diagram. Now, if you can appreciate over here that the cell body is lying in the center, and the two axons are actually going on from the cells. This, as you know, that the dendrites are the ones which are actually receiving the stimuli and transferring towards the cell body. Now it has dendrites over here as well and over here as well. This actually means that why it is called a bipolar, that there's a two-way traffic, that it can receive stimuli from this end and the stimuli can be transferred over here for the cell processing, and then efferent could be from this side to this side. Similarly, there could be stimuli over here which can be detected, and afferents could be towards the cell body, and then efferents could be from this side towards this side. So that is why it is called as bipolar neuron. Now this is called as unipolar because this is only a single way, that it is the receiving stimuli from one end and then it is actually transferring the stimuli towards the other end, where the cell body is there in between or present on the side. Now this is the diagram which is showing the cell body is present and it is receiving stimuli. As it's coming in, they are processed and eventually the efferents goes towards this direction. The third diagram which can be seen is a classical multipolar neuron, which I just mentioned, that there is, why it is called as multipolar, because it is receiving stimuli from multiple areas via dendrites, then being processed through a single axon which later on divides into multiple points. Actually stimuli which are coming from the multiple areas are actually transferred towards the multiple area. That is why it becomes a multipolar neuron. This is a diagram which is showing a typical neuron. It contains a nerve cell body, as it can be appreciated over here in this diagram in purple, and a plasma membrane and nerve processes. Now as you can appreciate over here, as this is a cell body which would contain a nucleus and different organelles. or like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, sarcoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, all this would be present inside over here. As these are the multiple neurites which are receiving stimuli, so they're called the dendrites. This is also a neurite, but as it is taking away the information, this is called as axon. The axons can be seen with the myelin presence of myelin sheath. Axons can be myelinated or non-myelinated as well. If the axons are myelinated, they are called the myelinated neurons. And their axons are myelinated, which actually increases the speed of conduction. There are different fibers, types of fibers, then A, B, and C, and then there are different A fibers are divided into alpha, beta, gamma, and delta fibers. The alpha type fibers are actually have a highest velocity of conduction. That means why? Because they have highly myelinated axons. And these axons, when become myelinated, they actually help in increased velocity of conduction across the axon. Now, this is an area where this is an axon terminals are present, which is it would divide into multiple areas so that it can is synapse with different effector organs at different points. So what the nerve cell body contains, I just told you that any cell would contain a nucleus. It would contain all other organelles like cytoplasmic organelles, nissal substances specifically present in the nerve cells, which actually help in the nourishment of the nerve cells, which is only present in the nervous tissue. Golgi complex is also present in other cells as well, over here as well, and microfilaments and microtubules are actually present, which have a role in axonal transport. Mitochondria is present to provide ATP and energy for the transport and how the nerve conduction has to take place. Then there are lysosomes and centrioles. Centrioles and lysosomes also have the same function as their other cells as well. That oxidative materials which get collected as is a very high demand and high functioning types of cells. So all those peroxidases and all those ions which get collected, which are highly reactive, they are being actually phagocytosed by lysosomes and actually degraded. Nucleus is a large, rounded, pale in appearance, containing chromatin and centrally situated in the cells, as in most of the cells. Nasal substance are granules of rough endoplasmic reticulum. Present throughout the cytoplasm, main role is the synthesis of proteins, and we know that rough endoplasmic has a role in synthesis of proteins. Golgi complex is part of smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Major role is in lipid synthesis and carbohydrate metabolism. And why lipid synthesis? Because myelination has to take place. And the greater the myelination would be, the greater would be the speed of conduction. Mitochondria are double membrane, spherical rod-shaped structures, and their role is in the synthesis of ATP. Neurofibrils determine the shape of neuron, while microfilaments and microtubules have a role in cell contraction and cell transport respectively. There is a term called an axonal transport, that is, that cell which are things which are present in a cell body, they has to be transported to the tip of the axon where it is actually ending as a on an effector organ. So that protein molecule or carbohydrate molecule actually has to be transported across the axon, and that is why it is called as axonal transport. And these microfilaments and neurofibrils have a role in this transport. This is a high definition view of a classical multipolar neuron, which is showing a cell body. As you can appreciate, these are the dendrites of a multipolar neuron. This is the nucleus, which is centrally placed usually, and this is the nucleolus containing chromatin and all this. These are the mitochondria. This would be the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, the rough endoplasmic reticulum. As you can appreciate over here, it's labeled over here. And then the other, this is the region of axon hillock. Actually, this is where the cell body ends and axon starts. But then it is also showing these are the microfilaments which have a role in the axonal transport. Any cell would be covered with a plasma membrane. Similarly, the nerve cells are actually living cells, so they are also covered with plasma membrane. The plasma membrane forms a continuous external boundary of the cell body and processes, and in the neuron and its site for initiation and conduction of nerve impulses. The membrane is about 8 nanometer thick, which is too thin to be seen with a light microscope. But when viewed under the electron microscope, the plasma membrane appears as the two dark lines with a white line in between. The plasma membrane is composed of an inner and outer layer, very loosely arranged protein molecules, each layer being 2.5 nanometer thick, separated by a middle layer of lipid almost 3 nanometer. It's actually a lipid bilayer. Like any other plasma membrane, it's a lipid bilayer. How this lipid bilayer occurs? The lipid layer is made up of two rows of phospholipid molecules arranged so that their hydrophobic ends are in contact with each other and their polar ends are in contact with the proteins outside. What is a resting membrane potential? Now, the thing which is different from a normal cell in the nerve cell is actually the resting membrane potential and action potential. What actually happens is there are channels called as the leaky channels or leaky potassium channels, which it can leak potassium towards the outside. Or this what actually happens is the permeability of membrane to potassium ions is much greater than that of the sodium ions. Thus, the passive efflux of potassium is much greater than the influx of the sodium. Now, this is what actually happens is, for example, there is a membrane and 3 potassium ions go over here, which are also positive, which is that's why we write K positive. And from this side 2 sodium ions come in, although which is Na plus, which is also +1, but relatively 3 positives have gone there and 2 have come here. So who would be on the negative side? The negative side would be the inside. This is actually what happens. This results in a steady potential difference amount of minus 80 millivolt, which can be measured across the plasma membrane, since inside the membrane is more negative with respect to outside. And the potential is known as the resting membrane potential. Why this actually happens is there is increased leakage of potassium ions outside, there is efflux, and there is a less influx of the sodium ions. So as a result, the overall inside becomes more negative and outside becomes more relatively positive. So when action potential arrives, when the nerve cell is excited or stimulated by electrical, mechanical, or a chemical means, a rapid change in membrane permeability to sodium ions takes place and sodium ions diffuse through the plasma membrane into the cytoplasm from the tissue fluid. Now it could be electrical, it could be mechanical, and it could be chemical. When I say mechanical, for example, you get those rufficin corpuscles and piscinin corpuscles. When there is a movement, there is a mechanical and the electric impulses are initiated. But in case of synapses, for example, when there is a release of acetylcholine, that is where the action potential starts by chemical means. The sudden influx of sodium ions followed by the altered polarity produces so-called action potential, which is approximately plus 40 millivolt. Now, once it was minus 80 at resting stage, suddenly the gates opened for the sodium channels. Sodium flew in, and there was so much flow of sodium influx that it resulted in the inside membrane potential or plasma membrane went from minus 80 to plus 40. This potential is very brief, lasting about 5 microseconds. This increased membrane permeability for sodium ions quickly ceases and membrane permeability for potassium ion increases. Therefore, the potassium ion starts to flow from cell cytoplasm and return to the localized area of cell to the resting stage. Once generated, the action potential spreads over the plasma membrane and away from the site initiation and conducting along the neurites and the nerve impulses. I just told you that this is actually axons are myelinated, and then how they're myelinated, it's like there are nodes of Ranvier which are present, insulating materials which are present at different levels. The action potential jumps from one node of Ranvier to the other node of Ranvier, and then it's conducted along the other and so that it can travel whole length of the axon. This jumping from one node to another node is called as saltatory conduction or saltatory type of action potential. This is the diagram which is showing the resting membrane potential. As you can appreciate over here, the inside is more negative, the outside positive. Overall, it is minus 80 millivolt. Suddenly, the action potential would arrive. The stimulation, which could be chemical, mechanical, and electrical, this opens up the gates of sodium-potassium channel. Sodium moves in. Sodium influx causes it to jump from minus 80 to plus 40 millivolts. But as this happens, then this sodium gates actually close. So now that once it is at this point, for this 5 microsecond, it is at plus 40 millivolts. But then there will be excess of potassium over here, which will start to flow out, which will leak out, which would result again from plus 40, it will return back to minus 80 millivolt. In this, we have covered what is how the neurons are actually classified on their morphological designs, what is the resting membrane potential, what is an action potential, how the saltatory nerve conduction actually occurs in the nerve cells. Thank you very much. Keep watching sqadia.com.